Howdy my peeps and welcome. I'm going to be sharing the first 5 drawings from Peachtober, but before we get into that, I would like to give a shout out to Safi Mo. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If I didn't, I apologize. Thanks so much for your comment. I really like reading y'all's comments, and if you'd like to be the comment of the week, all you have to do is comment under any video. That could have been you. I also have a Patreon where you can get early access to videos, sketch dumps, and other little things, and an Etsy shop where you can get stickers and stuff. Links to both of those are in the description. The very first prompt was Daisy, and this was actually my second attempt at this prompt. The first time I wasn't completely satisfied with the colors. I thought they were too orange, especially for her skin tone. So I decided to use some of my favorite elements from the first drawing and to just redo them, but better this time. There are a couple of things slightly off with the second drawing, but I told myself I'm not allowed to redo a drawing more than once, and even if I do redo it that one time, it has to be because it's like so bad. Like, it has to be terrible. And technically I kind of broke that rule by redrawing this, but I made that rule up after I finished this, so yeah. I think that's really going to help prevent me from getting burnt out too early, because sometimes I'll look at a drawing and I'll be like, I really need to redo this, and it's like, no I don't. I can just move on to the next one. But anyways, this is how the drawing turned out. I do like the colors. I kind of covered up some of the mistakes that I was talking about so you can't even see them. Overall, I think it's a pretty decent start to this challenge, so I'm not mad at it. The prompt for day 2 was Sparkle, and this one took me a little over an hour, and by a little over an hour I mean an hour and 1 minute. I have a lot of feelings about this drawing. For starters, it's inspired by Fairy Little Peach's work. She has this thing that she does with some of her work where she'll have colors in negative space and then she'll like color around it, if that makes any type of sense. I'll put an example up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. And I thought that would be really fun to put like in an afro. I was like, that would be so cool. The problem is I should have maybe done a few tests before I started doing the final thing, because I chose the wrong colors for this. So some of the colors look kind of muddy in some places. There's also this like blue area around her bangs, which I probably should have used that color for all of the hair, but instead I just have it in that area around her bangs, and so it kind of looks weird. The rest of her hair looks like it's the background. It doesn't look like it's actually her hair, because that color kind of separates her bangs from the rest of her hair and makes it look a little funny. But I do like the idea. It could have been executed a little better. I could have done some swatches. I learned from my mistakes though, and I started doing swatches and tests for my future drawings. Some of the drawings you'll see in the future. The colors aren't too bad though. I also feel like I could have done a better job with shading her face. I chose like a blue color, and it works in some of the areas, but some of the areas it doesn't. I like put a shadow under her nose. I feel like it looks kind of awkward in some places, and I think it's just down to the fact that I just chose a color that maybe wasn't the right one for shading, and it ended up looking like I just went over that area with the marker too many times. So yeah, but I could have fixed that or prevented that from happening by just swatching my colors. I've learned from my mistakes and I did better. But anyways, this is how it turned out. It's not my favorite out of this batch, but it's not terrible, which is why I didn't redo it, and also because it took so long. I definitely have a greater appreciation for Furry Little Peach's work now. Day 3's prompt was Paw, and this was one of the drawings I was really excited about. If you are unaware, I did thumbnail all of my drawings for Peachtober in last week's video. I'm going to put it in the end screen so you can see it if you want to. But this was definitely one of the ones that I was just like, I can't wait to get started on it. It took me 54 minutes to finish this one. And I'm mentioning the times this time around, which I typically don't do in my videos, but I'm mentioning it because I think it is one of the other things that I'm doing to make sure that I don't get burned out too early, is I'm trying not to spend like a whole bunch of time on a drawing. Like 30 minutes, an hour max is what I'm trying to go for. I've also been trying my best to do 2 drawings each time that I sit down to do a drawing, and I just want to make sure that I have drawings like already done so that I can go ahead and schedule my posts on Instagram so I won't have to do it the day of. And also, since I'm making videos about it, it's just helpful to already have them filmed so that when it's time for me to go sit down and edit them and stuff, I don't have to be like, oh well, I haven't done the drawing for today yet, so I don't, you know. And so far so good. So far it's made it a whole lot less stressful than it typically is. And since I'm not spending too much time on each drawing, I usually sit down for like an hour 30 to 2 hours each drawing session, which isn't too bad if I do say so myself. And because I'm drawing 2 drawings at a time most days, that means I'm always ahead, which means if I need to take a day off, I can, and I'll still be on time, which is pretty cool. I also think that's a first for me, being on time with these, because usually I'm drawing later in the day and I end up posting stuff late, or not at all. I had so much fun with this particular drawing. It's with my OCK mirror and his Lothcat bells, and I really like the colors. It was so fun. I think it's one of my favorite drawings out of this particular batch. Which brings me to day 4, which is Sky, and this one may or may not be towards the bottom of the barrel this week. It's not terrible, but there are some things that I could have done better. This is one of the ones that I did redraw, but I redrew it in the sketch stage still, so it kind of feels like I didn't redraw it. I also did a bunch of different tests in my sketchbook as I was working on this to make sure I had the correct colors that I wanted and to make sure the angle of this face was what I wanted, because I was using a reference and I don't think I've ever drawn this angle with this perspective element before, so I was really nervous and I was like, I'm going to sketch this in my sketchbook first and also choose the colors first before I start doing stuff on the final piece. And I'm really glad that I did that, because the colors themselves, I think, are decent. Even the face is pretty decent, especially, like I said, since I don't really do this angle like that. So all that considered, like, it's not too bad. It's the background. I hate it so much. I was really lazy with it, I'm not gonna lie. I hate drawing clouds, and I really did not feel like drawing clouds on this particular day, so I really half did it. I'm not even gonna lie. A little part of me is just a little upset that it didn't turn out how I wanted it to, but the potential's still there, and I might revisit this in the future. Who knows? I do have to learn how to draw clouds first, though. Finally, we have day 5, Fawn, which took me an hour and 10 minutes to complete, which is the longest I have spent on any of these drawings, which is something. Because this one took me much longer than the others, I ended up just doing this drawing for that particular day. I didn't do a second one because I was too tired to do another one. I would also like to note that that 1 hour and 10 minutes does not include the time that I took to sketch out stuff and plan colors and stuff, because this was the one that I was really nervous about. I do not draw animals like that, and I was trying to figure out a way that I could kind of get around my deficiency in that area, and so I kind of drew a fawn girly instead of just an actual fawn. I was looking over the thumbnail that I did last week, and I was like, you know what? I made her a little too old, because fawns are baby deer and she was like an adult, so I had to age this character down, so she's more of a toddler here. I typically don't give my drawings or my work any meaning, really, but for this one I kind of got a little carried away, and I was like, you know what, I really want her to have a darker skin tone, especially since young black girls are treated like they're older than they actually are, and I just felt like a fawn would be a good representation for, I guess, innocence. And I really wanted her to have big brown eyes and curly hair and dark skin. If I were to change anything about this drawing, I would make her hair texture a little tighter. But other than that, I really like how this one turned out, and I even gave her those like weird horizontal pupils. Those turned out pretty cool, and I also really like her freckles. But anyways, that is all for this week. Thanks so much for watching. Shout out to my patrons, Merryman Illustrations, Sister Donnie 55, Kelsey, and a Spooky Rose. Thanks so much for being my patrons. I really appreciate you and everything that you do. Wow, oh my goodness. Thanks so much for watching. Here are a couple of videos that I think you would like, including that thumbnailing video that I mentioned earlier. But anyways, I'll see you next time.